When picking out the worst Resident Evil, you have quite a menu to choose from. This is a series that's home to gems like Survivor and Umbrella Corps. The amount of red-headed stepchildren is frankly dizzying. But going through that list, how many of them are really Resident Evil? Survivor is a light gun game that's Resident Evil in name alone. Umbrella Corps isn't even Resident Evil in name. Reverse? Resistance? Operation Raccoon City? Do they even count? I may as well just spray paint the words Resident Evil on my copy of Big Rig's Trucking and call that the worst Resident Evil. Oh, and there's one with a much higher profile that sometimes comes up in these conversations. But don't worry, we're going to have a very long talk about Resident Evil 6 next time. In the meantime, narrowing down that definition, there's only one poorly received title in that deep basement that I think could truly be called a Resident Evil game, and that's Gaiden. Starring two major franchise characters up to their necks in zombies, it's an original story taking place in a single isolated location. You balance limited items and ammunition you find while scouring a zombie-filled locale for keys and other items that open up the location. It has a battle screen, but you still initiate it by pointing your gun and aiming at a zombie like usual. You can even do a knife-only run, if you're deeply masochistic. It's genuinely Resident Evil, or at least a Game Boy Color approximation of it. Is its reputation deserved, or is Gaiden a misunderstood gem? Let's find out. I made a joke in my last video about Resident Evil 6 not existing, but something interesting about Gaiden is that it actually doesn't exist. In the canon, that is. It's the only original game to my knowledge that's been explicitly confirmed to not be canon. Even Survivor is canon, and gets referenced in Zero. Even Umbrella Corps was confirmed to be canon, sort of. It's not worth getting into. Gaiden's concept is simple enough. Barry on a boat. More specifically, a nameless underground organization was formed after Raccoon City to fight against Umbrella. It consisted of former STARS members and ex-Umbrella employees. Our protagonists are two of their agents, Barry, a former STARS member, and Leon, who is neither of those. In the intro, the chief even refers to him as of the Raccoon City Police Department, as if he still works there. For one, pretty sure there is no Raccoon City Police Department anymore, Chief. For two, in the instruction manual, Barry instead refers to him as one of their best STARS recruits. I don't remember Leon being in this picture. Is he a beat cop in a city that doesn't exist anymore? A recruit for a team that doesn't exist anymore? An underground agent? A government agent? Will the real Leon please stand up? We're off to a promising start already. The organization's chief here remains in shadow, and we never learn anything further about him or the organization, which I'm okay with. You can tell the story is meant to be clandestine, and we're not really supposed to trust anything 100%. He sends Barry to a cruise ship called the Starlight, where an Umbrella BOW has apparently escaped. Leon's last report shows that he boarded the ship, but hasn't been heard from since. To set the scene before we board, I'll recite this parting poem from the manual story section. I loathe the ocean and the secrets it holds, forever deep, dark, and cold. For some reason, the words sent a chill down Barry's spine. We start on the side deck controlling Barry, who apparently dyes his hair black in between cutscenes. The cabinets along the wall contain ammo, which we're going to need soon. Before we enter the lobby, the HQ calls to tell us in explicit detail how to target enemies to initiate a battle. Despite this, I repeatedly mess it up and get grabbed, meaning the battle scene starts with the zombie right up to me. Here we have our first battle. The zombies here look really good for the Game Boy Color, but we have no time to appreciate them because we need to shoot them. You probably get the gist intuitively. The cursor spins across by itself, and you need to press the button when the cursor is aligned with the bar below the enemy. It's a critical hit if you're dead center, which connects as a headshot. Range between you and the zombie determines whether he can hit you. The zombie needs to be at close range to hurt you, and determines the size of the target area, making it easier for you to hit them at closer ranges. If they're in range for a few seconds, they'll attack you. Run out of health, you die. At this point, I still don't get the targeting, or what any button does, as evidenced by me here trying to switch weapons and then accidentally learning how to run away. You just press start and line up the bar in the middle. Once you nail it, you get to escape, which gets you out of a jam, but also usually ends up in a parting blow by the enemy. So I cut my losses and just restart the game after looking at what all the buttons do. Anyway, the boss man tells us our first goal is to reach the security room on 4F, the highest floor. On your way there, you start to learn the gist of things. Start brings up the map, which only fills in as you explore. The map can sometimes be a little annoying, but it's essential. Select brings up your inventory screen. Targeting is actually incredibly simple. You just hold down the button, aim with the D-pad, and then let go of the button once you have the target in your sights. I don't know why I thought that was so complicated. You'll also notice the exclamation point in the lower right corner. Amongst other functions, this turns green when an item is near, and red when a zombie carrying an item is near. So you'll get into a quick rhythm of evading zombies unless you get that red alarm. They often have key items or precious ammo. And almost immediately you're exposed to an annoying quirk, which is that you can't pick up ammo for weapons you don't have. This means inherent backtracking, a lot, and when a zombie carries such ammo, it means it'll respawn endlessly until you're able to pick it up. Also, while the cabinets on the side deck may have made you believe you can predict where you'll need to search, that's not really the case. Items can be hiding anywhere and they're all completely invisible, so you're really dependent on that green icon. The old strategy of pressing the button every half second as you explore works, too. Oh, but check out how your character gets dark when you go into shadow. Neat visual effect for the Game Boy. There's quite a lot of unique battle backgrounds here based on your location, and they all look pretty good. Weapons all have unique animations, and your shots even hit the enemy in different spots depending on your accuracy. There's a couple more quirks to combat, too. Different weapons have different strengths, but they also have different speeds, meaning it's harder to land a hit with stronger weapons, especially from a safe distance. There's also one weapon that's unique to this game, the gas launcher. This weapon is basically another grenade launcher that only fires special gas rounds. And it's fun. It fills the screen with gas and kills every enemy instantly, even if you miss. Sometimes nearby zombies will come as a second wave, and if you gassed up the screen, the battle scene will just wait for them to arrive to kill them instantly too. Some female zombies can poison you, which functions basically the same as other Resident Evil games. And there are crowbar zombies. They can hit you even from medium range. This also makes them tricky to kill with the knife, as that only works at point blank. They'll move closer eventually, but sometimes they'll just wail on you for some time while you can't knife them back. Overall, the battle system is a good fit. Patience is rewarded on the field, but once in battle, there's an inherent tension and urgency to combat. Taking too long to aim will get you hit, but missing both wastes resources and leaves you open until the cursor swings back around again. It reminds me of timing shotgun blasts against hunters in Resident Evil, or trying to kill lickers as fast as possible in RE2. It's a pretty solid combat system that feels on brand, and pretty distinct from anything else out there. On my way to the elevator that leads to the 4th floor, I stop by a restaurant area and meet my first poisonous zombie. As I mentioned before, if they attack you, you need a blue or purple herb to heal up. Yeah, there are purple herbs this time. And they're the best herbs, too. Good for fans of purple. Anyway, I picked up a few key items already. One of which is a kitchen key off a staff member's corpse, which I ingeniously deduce is probably next door since I'm in the restaurant. And this elevator key is used with the elevator. Of course! Whew, I thought this game was supposed to be confusing. This is your first save point. Once you get to certain parts of the story, you get a chance to save your game. If you die, you can continue on from the save points, but you can also just continue from just before your death. After saving, I waltz on by and end up on the top deck. Barry helpfully notes that the security room is probably locked. I helpfully find a security card key on a zombie right around the corner. All that's left to do is find the security room. Hey, and I get a rope, another key item. Neato. Anyway, where's that security room? Is it here? 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 Is it here? Is this the security room? What about this room? How about now? Now? Are we in the security room yet? Now? Ugh, what's even left on this floor? I've been across the entire thing and I can't find any trace of it. But I do have a bunch of key items I've collected by now. Maybe I'll just go and use them and then see what happens. So we go back to the kitchen. I use the fuse that I'd forgotten about before, which was my fault, which opens the refrigerator. This has a crew area key inside. We use the other elevator key to unlock the elevator south of the first one. We go back to the opening area and we can open another corridor with the crew area key. We use these elevators to go to the cargo bay. In the cargo bay, we find a blowtorch, a computer card, and a crowbar. We go back upstairs and use the crowbar to open this door where we find a fire extinguisher. We go upstairs and use the computer card to enter the computer room. The computer room has the control pass. We go back down to the storage bay and use that control pass to access the data control, which has the elevator pass and a data disk inside. We take the elevator all the way up to the 4th floor. And now we're at the 4th floor at a place we couldn't reach before, which is separate from the rest of the floor. I breathe a sigh of relief as we enter the operation area and grab a boiler room key. Then we go to the boiler room. All of this just to reach the security room for the first goal in the game. Actually, I just completely lied to you. You didn't need to do any of that. That's right, I lied. You want to know where the security room was? It's right there. It's like 10 steps from the zombie carrying the key to it. Right underneath the damn dressing room that I was already in at the very beginning. And it's even marked on the map. I was staring at the damn thing literally outlined in blood red, but I was confused by all these colorful squares, and I assumed I'd already been to that room, or it was just made of lava or something. And there's all these doors that just showed the same red X when I walked up to them, because nothing is labeled or tells you what's needed to open it. And I don't know, how was I supposed to know I could have opened it? And basically, I'm just dumb. So I consulted a walkthrough, and it told me to go do all of that. After running around for an entire hour like a lunatic all across the boat and back, I ended up at my destination mere steps away from where I started. But actually, my stupidity was genius. The walkthrough says to do all of this out of order because there are no zombies around when you go somewhere before you need to be there. So I did quite a lot that was necessary and lucrative without expending a single bullet. We're on Easy Street now, baby. Let's progress the dang plot. We don't see Leon on the monitor, but instead we see Lucia, a survivor that Leon met who was about to be attacked by the BOW we're chasing. We rush to the scene and we get our first boss fight. That was the only enemy in the game besides zombies. Well anyway, mission accomplished. Wait. Lucia seems suspicious. Who is this girl? Next, we use a key from Lucia to work our way down the second-class cabin hallways, and then onto the first-class cabin hallways. And this seems like a good time to complain about something. So you're loaded with key items, several of which I mentioned above, and like every Resident Evil, these key items unlock doors and the like. But the problem is, where the heck is the boiler room? I've actually already passed the boiler room, and in any other Resident Evil, it would have a sign or some text or some indication that it is in fact the boiler room. Here, I just have no clue which door is which. Which room is the computer control room? What differentiates a door that needs the crowbar to be opened from one that needs the blowtorch to be opened? Absolutely nothing. There's no text or unique animation or special graphic or anything to indicate this. Every door just has the same red X mark when you approach them. There's no clicking on them for a descriptive text reading like, the door is jammed, or it's missing a fuse. The fuse itself is a simple logic puzzle. The description mentions a refrigerator, and there's a kitchen nearby. It's pretty intuitive. But the fire extinguisher doesn't extinguish any fires in the kitchen. And where the heck is the data control room? This issue really cuts into how satisfying the exploration is. Also, by now, look, this game's music is very divisive. Some people think it's actually quite good, pretty atmospheric, and an impressive attempt at a Resident Evil soundtrack with very limited technology. Other people think it's responsible for putting them in the asylum and hear it looping every time they close their eyes. They are both correct. A lot of the tracks are actually pretty solid and deliver on a specific atmosphere. The music can be eerie, exciting, tense, dramatic. The battle themes are just great. The tracks, though, are extremely short, there's very few of them, the music stops when zombies scream, meaning it will get constantly interrupted by zombies yelling at you, and they just change in an annoying fashion. Like, there's one track in particular that I like that feels kind of high energy, and I'll be like, yeah, let's go. And then in 6 seconds, I'll be in a new room and a new song will just abruptly start playing. The game cycles through tracks with a dynamic system. It changes depending on whether you're exploring peacefully or close to enemies, and there's several sets of them for different parts of the ship. The idea is pretty cool, and sometimes it works well, but other times it's just extremely jarring in implementation and will seem like the music is just skipping around for no reason. You may hear one track, get near a zombie so it shifts to that chase theme, have that chase theme stop when the zombie sees you and screams, restart when he's done screaming as you're right next to an elevator, and then change again when you press the elevator button, shifting through 4 different tracks all in the span of a few seconds. And some of these songs are just so bleepy bloopy. I know it's Game Boy, but some of these bleeps, man, some of these bloops. But the cutscene music. For some reason, it's the most innocuous track in the game, yet is the one that just drove me mad with repetition by the end. I think I'm going to just take that song with me to my grave. That song is a part of me now. There is no escape. Anyway, Lucia gets kidnapped by the BOW after sensing it nearby, and we go through a hole to find Leon. They quickly catch up, and Barry shares his suspicions that Lucia is actually the BOW they came to eliminate. Leon seems offended by this and barks back that the giant monster is a pretty good candidate for that, and they should probably focus on saving the one person who's still alive. At an impasse, we head back to the security room to see if we can find her. When we get there, the sense of paranoia in the air intensifies. The BOW is seen carrying Lucia around, despite the fact that it just instantly killed everyone else. Leon takes the time to fill in Barry on Lucia's backstory. She's always had an acute sense of hearing and kind of strange abilities. It caused her trouble with local kids until she ended up on this ship headed to Europe to see her relatives. Barry is still skeptical, but again at an impasse, they decide it's more important to take out what's obviously a monster and worry about what might be a monster later. We get to the deck and take down the BOW 2-on-1. However, it keeps coming at us and the group runs away. And what's worse, now the ship's exploding and we can't get evacuated due to the weather. Joy! Here we also learn that the BOW has green blood. We then learn that the BOW's favorite food is spaghetti. Just as soon as Lucia seems cleared by this news, Barry is the one to start acting weird. Now we're headed to turn on the sprinklers to go buy some time, and here we play as Leon. He's identical to Barry, just beardless and blue, and you'll need to equip him with weapons and armor. Barry's won't carry over. Wait, did I mention there's armor in the game? There's 3 levels, low, medium, high. They act like armor in an RPG, you take less damage. There's also multiple copies of each level of armor so that you can equip each member of your party. That's about it. Oh, yeah, there's also a party system, too. I, kinda didn't really figure out how to use it until I pressed a wrong button nearly at the end of the game. Listen, if I was good at things, I'd be making very different videos. You can switch between each character in combat, they all have their own health bars, and you can equip them with different weapons to make switching a little faster. It really doesn't do too much, though it's fun you can give the small child a shotgun, or a grenade launcher. We turn on the sprinkler, and yet again we return to the security room that mocked me, where we see Barry acting even shiftier. Okay, that's it. Time to confront him. Oh, so Barry, steals the girl at gunpoint and escapes into an Umbrella-branded submarine as Leon has a firefight with a bunch of Umbrella goons who leave him stranded. Nice action pose there, Leon. Very, very cool. Well, shoot, that was a turn. I guess we're stranded on the sinking ship now. Time to head to the engine room to try and stop it from exploding. So, Gaiden has a reputation for being a pretty difficult game. At least for me, this is when it really started to feel gritty. There is a literal boatload of zombies and only so much ammunition in the game. Unlike most RE games, there's nowhere near enough ammo to kill every zombie. What's worse, they spawn repeatedly throughout the story, meaning even if you clear a hallway, there's going to be several more waves of zombies in the future. You'll remember I saved a lot of bullets by doing all those tasks out of order. I haven't been following a guide since then exactly, but I did consult on an occasion to make sure I didn't miss any weapons or significant pickups, and I did consult it when I got stuck to avoid wandering around endlessly getting into unneeded battles. So I've basically been cheating. And I've run past quite a lot of zombies to boot, and I'm still having a hard time keeping my guns full. At this point, even the red exclamation point marking a zombie with an item starts to really fail me. Upon picking up a damn herb from a zombie that I wasted precious bullets on, you don't even know. The disappointment just goes deep into my soul. Also, the zombies do get stronger and more aggressive as the game goes on. By the end of the game, it's hard not to get damaged without using a stronger weapon, even if you target them from afar. What's worse, the zombies with the crowbars, while they seemed cute at first, are damn cheaters. They can damage you from medium range, meaning most battles you'll start inside their range, and they can damage you within a split second of initiating combat, if they feel like it. You'll also see how a lot of zombies are just plain impossible to avoid, an annoying amount of them really. Meaning you waste your resources by shooting them, or you shove them off and take some damage, requiring use of an herb, thus using up more resources. Plus, a lot of the time, they won't even stay dead. They crawl on the floor, ready for another round. After a tough path, though, we finally make it to the engine room, where of course we see our old friend wreaking havoc. Leon gives us a one-liner, good old Leon, and here we combat him again. He's a little tougher here, but we still take him down, as the room starts to steam up, and as Leon is screwed, he comically curses out Barry, whom we cut back to inside the Umbrella submarine, and here we have the only section of the game where you aren't on board the Starlight. A lot of story happens here. So, turns out Barry wasn't really a traitor, he just used Umbrella to jack their sub, having no other escape route off the ship. And it also turns out that Lucia has powers because she has a parasite inside of her, which is set to take over her body in 10 days. This isn't meant to be, as Barry holds her hostage to hijack a shotgun surgery to remove the parasite by the ship's doctor, whereupon it attacks the captain and sparks a fight with a gun-toting zombie captain. Was that all one sentence? Anyway, now we're actually in a brand new location, the sub. I love this sub, actually, because the zombies are mostly easy to avoid, and it's littered with ammo that I desperately need. The sub is pretty nice visually, too. There's a lot of detail, considering how briefly you're here. Every room has unique assets, and it has its own distinct aesthetic and color scheme. There's a medbay complete with flashing lights, the barracks with ladders on the bunk beds, a control room with a periscope, and even a torpedo room. Honestly, the sub is more attractive than the Starlight. I'd rather go on that cruise. And to top it all off, the BOW has followed us here and will briefly chase you around as you learn the sub's controls, adopt Lucia, and head back to the Starlight to save Leon. We make our way over to the engine room and we finally find Leon. Or do we? I don't know, looks like Leon to me. Oh, shoot, it's the BOW, so the BOW can impersonate us. Great. Thankfully, we find the real Leon below, who we know is the real Leon because he bickers with Barry. The real Leon stands up, and we're finally in the home stretch. All we have to do is make it off the sinking ship over to the escape sub. But we're going to have to wade through a mountain of zombies and navigate through fires blocking several of our paths. Due to those fires, there's only one way to the sub, and that's through the crew area. And blocking our path is, of course, our persistent friend, Nemesis Jr. He's tough this time. This is the final battle after all. But we prevail and escape. Wait, what's this? Now we have a soap opera scene with two Lucias before she cuts herself to show us her red blood. Where did she get that huge knife? I didn't equip her with that. No time to think about that. Now we're all launched into the true final battle. And here it is, the moment of truth. And I totally choke. I open by launching round after round of gas all over the field, toss it aside, and ready my rockets. I try to attack when he's too far away and miss with a bunch of my rockets, which I'm not accustomed to using since I haven't ever fired one before. As it clangs uselessly empty, I break out the grenade launcher from my back and empty what's left of it right in his face. My big gun's useless, I pull out my last gun, my trusty sidearm that's always seen us through, and then I empty 1,000,000 rounds of it into him. Until it too clicks empty and is uselessly thrown to the floor. He's still standing. We've only got one thing left in the tank. I dive in and we settle things mano a mano. It's time for a point-blank knife fight. Which I lose. Man, though, what a battle. I cheated to get this far, and I still ended up empty on all my weapons anyway. Well, I'll try that again. That was my fault for missing so much with the rockets. If I just nailed all my rockets, he would have gone down. Or that's what I'd like to say, because at this point I realized I actually hadn't been recording any footage in the last half hour. Whoops. Everything you've seen since Barry's betrayal was actually a do-over. Including the final boss just now, except that actually did happen as I described it. That was just a simulated recreation of roughly what it looked like when I totally choked. Don't be surprised, this isn't the first time that I've lied to you. You should expect it by now. So I revert to a previous save and work my way back. Don't worry, this detour is only 3 more sentences. So I did it fair the first time, so this time I exploit the gas gun trick and make it back there in no time. Pro tip for scoundrels who like to cheat. Initiate the escape mode and then fire the gas gun and it doesn't deplete your ammo. So we can just instantly kill every zombie for 0 bullets. Nice. Anyway, I get back to the final boss with my rockets intact, same as before. And this time, I actually hit him with my rockets and he dies. Imagine that. Whew. So the BOW dies for good this time, although I'm not sure exactly why, and the ship finally sinks. Lucia notes with glee that her powers are gone, Barry gets yet another daughter, and Leon calls HQ. ... question mark. Will the real Leon please stand up? Was Leon the BOW all along? I don't know, because the credits roll now and the game is instantly erased from canon. And thus ends the story of Gaiden. Honestly, I enjoyed the story. The vagueness of the setup, the shifting sense of paranoia as we get small nuggets of information, the lead characters arguing over it. It was pretty fun. I did not enjoy the dialogue, but hey. This might be a little folksy, but I've always thought there's a certain mysticism to a game like this. You know, primitive sprite graphics, limited dialogue. What you see is basically a stand-in for what they don't have the technology to convey. And it's kind of up to your own creativity to really fill in some of those blanks between what's shown and what it represents. Somewhere in between those two, inside those blanks that you fill in, it's always kind of felt to me like there's something intangible we can't quite see clearly, and that always makes my mind wander a bit. And I think this sort of plot with the constant paranoia and infighting really suits a game like this, where everything is so vaguely defined. I mean, calm down, I'm not nominating it for an award or anything, it's just a bare-bones retread of the thing. But I enjoyed it. The odd part of this game is, despite being erased from canon and immediately forgotten, elements of the game have actually ended up elsewhere, weirdly frequently. Dead Aim also took place on a ship, and Revelations 1 also took place on a cruise ship. Revelations 2 featured Barry forming a protective bond with a little girl that has strange powers, and eventually adopting her. And we've even seen BOWs that can impersonate people, both in Revelations 2 and in RE6. Sadly, Barry and Leon have still never interacted, ever. But he did interact with Claire in Rev 2, so that's only 1 degree away from Kevin Bacon. Code Veronica also features BOW gas rounds for the grenade launcher, but that actually came out a year before this, so either Gaiden copied the concept and spun it off into a separate weapon, or it was just an interesting coincidence. Either way, the functionality is a little bit more interesting here than it was there, so whatever. And that, finally, loops us back around to our original premise. Is Gaiden the worst Resident Evil? Well, by my extremely narrowed definition, I mean, yeah, probably. The combat gets really old eventually, the exploration is half-baked, the interesting mechanics don't amount to that much, there's no puzzles, it can be unforgivably difficult and confusing, it's very easy to softlock your game completely, and the music will haunt your dreams whether you like the music or whether you don't. But it does still feel like Resident Evil, which puts it above most of the other spin-offs for me. Frankly, I enjoyed my time with it despite its many, many undeniable flaws. It was fun seeing zombies and familiar RE items as Game Boy sprites and running around the ship. The music was pretty good before it drove me completely insane. It has some unique gameplay features, and the combat system, while it did get old eventually, is pretty novel, as is the plot, bare bones as it is. Leon and Barry are a surprisingly fun pair here. I expected this video to be about half as long as it ended up being, so obviously I got more invested than I expected. I'd say it's worth a shot for any Resident Evil fan, even if you just see it as something of a novelty. Although, if I'm being honest, I still like this better than Zero. Please don't hurt me. Oh, and speaking of the plot, if Leon being a BOW wasn't enough of a twist for you, the game surprised me one last time in a way that I'm not really sure what to make of. So I wanted to confirm something about the map, which required an unexplored map. So right after I beat it, I hit New Game. And sure, it did start a new game, but after the intro, I had a full party of Barry, Leon, and Lucia. HQ still tells me to look for Leon. If Leon is missing, then who's standing right next to me? I was not able to repeat this, nor is it a known glitch to my limited knowledge. What a great way to end things. When Leon is a BOW, it's springtime for gaming.